Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vicki Bird. I am a registered nurse and the CEO of the Montana Nurses Association. And I'm here with my Director of Professional Development, Kelly Hunt. And we're just going to have an informal conversation about an email that we've all received in the mail from the Board of Nursing, Department of Labor, regarding repealing of rules pertaining to continuing education requirements for RNs and APRNs. And we just wanted to reach out to you and do a video recording. There'll also be a hard copy of this communication on our website and in an email that's coming to you for access and for you all to be informed about what this really means. It seemed kind of, non-critical until we looked into it deeper, and really MNA would not support the elimination of pharmacology continuing education for APRNs or continuing education for RNs. So with that said, we're going to just share a little bit about how this is laid out so that you can get the information you need. And we're hoping that you all click on the links provided to provide comment to the Board of Nursing and Department of Labor, because it is due by July 21st. So we're on a very tight timeline. So with that said, MNA does not support a repeal of these rules, and I'm going to have it laid out here for you really quick. So the MAR notice is 24-159-93, and that was emailed to every licensed nurse in Montana on June 29th. So look at your home emails and look for that original email. These rule changes were not spelled out very easy for good reference because people don't have the time to look them up. So I chose to spell them out for you here. And with Kelly and Robin's help, we're hoping that we have a good message that will make sense to you all, that you can activate and be part of it. So here in the ruling, it is in black what the Department of Labor and the Board of Nursing sent on to you all. In blue is the extra context of the rules that exist, because I know that you guys are busy and don't have time to look them up. And then in red is the MNA comments as we go through it. And again, this will be emailed to you all and on our website. So the term of an APRN's prescriptive authority is concurrent with licensure. Of course, we support that rule. So moving down, you can see that they're wanting to repeal 12 contact hours for APRNs, and we do not support the elimination of this requirement. Moving down the rule in blue, here's what the ruling actually says. And of course, we support this rule that you have to, have prescriptive authority to prescribe in Montana. Then the Department of Labor reviewed some reasons, and here's the reason. I put that in there for you to see. And they were addressing that, during the last few years, there hasn't been an increase in incompetent practice that's been reported. Well, we've just got through a pandemic, so I don't know how really rational that is. And at the very end, these changes are supported by the governor's red tape relief by reducing unnecessarily burdensome regulations. In a nutshell, I was saying, continuing education is not a burdensome regulation. Whether we have more practice, we have more education, we have more professional development, we continue on in school or practice and research. So it is not burdensome, but it is our professional responsibility to ensure that we have competent practice. And I do not think that would be defendable to any nurse or any healthcare provider, period. So we kind of take a little offense to that, but I've got the rationale here for you to review. It goes on through APRN competence development and taking away the 24 contact hours. It's just things that I just don't think any of us, and even the public, would want to support. Certainly a nurse that is taking care of your blood pressure or your diabetes or your oncology needs, we are not practicing today as we practiced even 5, 10, or 20 years ago. So to say that the education isn't important really is nonsensical and is not supported by our board or by our members. So going down, these rules do drastically impact our profession. They want to repeal them. And because they weren't spelled out for transparent and open communication, we spelled out the rest of them as well, all of them in their entirety. So you can see the standards for continuing education. They want to repeal all of that. Of course, we don't support that rule. Biennial continuing education requirements is 24 contact hours over 2 years, plenty of time to get additional education. Many of us get even more than that. Of course, we don't support that rule. And so moving on down, they audit contact hours. They pick so many nurses, I think each year or every other year, to audit that they've gotten proper contact hours. So this is not a burden for the Board of Nursing at all. And we support our Board of Nursing to regulate our nurses in Montana. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly, because I think this last part is the most important part of the whole picture as we move forward. Go ahead, Kelly.
Thanks, Vicki. And I actually, if you don't mind just scrolling up, what I wanted to touch on one area of the proposed rules that they're looking at repealing, and that's the standards for continuing education. And I think this is something that's a little bit maybe slept on. I actually didn't see it the first time I looked at it, but there are very specific standards that we look at whenever we are approving continuing education for contact hours. And that's always just to make sure that everything is based in the best available evidence for nurses, to ensure that the education that they're getting is actually based in what is best practice. So if we repeal this rule, that actually would mean that even if you did decide that you wanted to continue to get contact hours without the requirement for your license, there would be no requirement for quality of education that you would be receiving. And so I think that's one that is very important to consider as well. We don't want to be doing away with standards for continuing education. We want to ensure that every bit of continuing education that our nurses receive is based in the best available evidence, with the most up-to-date references and resources for our nurses to practice. So with that, I'll move on to the final portion, which is essentially, there are a couple pieces here that are really important to me as the Director of Professional Development for MNA. The first is that it's really important to note that 42 out of 50 states currently require some form of continuing education for license renewal. Montana is one of those 42 states. We are in the majority. We are doing what is best for our community members to provide the best quality care that we can. We don't want to take a step back and join that group of 8 states that have not yet joined what is considered to be best practice. So with that, I'd also like to point out that this also just doesn't align with the most up-to-date research related to nursing practice and how the nursing profession is integrated into the health system as a whole. And the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine recently released the report, which is the Future of Nursing 2020 to 2030. You may not recognize this agency's name, but it's the same organization formerly known as the Institute of Medicine. They released their first report in 2011, and it has been the blueprint for the nursing profession ever since its release in 2011. I think what's important to note here is that in the Future of Nursing report, looking at the next decade of nursing practice, the National Academy of Medicine actually recommends the increasing importance of continuing education for nurses, as we will continue to be a central part of the health system and helping patients access healthcare appropriately, meet their healthcare goals. And just as we all know how important nurses are, and it's equally important to ensure that we have educated, currently practicing according to current best practices, nurses that are providing the best care possible. And so, as Vicki mentioned earlier, the deadline for public comment, and there is a link in the email and on our website, is July 21st. And we would encourage as many of you as possible to submit public comment, voicing concern for these proposed changes, as it does impact nursing practice in our state. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. And we just wanted to reach out to you quick, and hopefully this is helpful. And check your email, check our website, and don't hesitate to reach out to the office to Kelly or myself if you have any questions. Thanks so much, everyone.